time. I will now hand over the presentation to Mr. DeJarvis Leonard. Mr. Leonard.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us again with our monthly media briefing. This is the media briefing for September. Thank you for joining us. We will walk through some updates on the project, showing you primarily some updated aerial photography of the progress that has taken place over the last month, and try to give you some updates. As always, we do an overview of the project that shows the 4 phases of the construction. The phase A, the yellow, the phase 1 is the red, the blue is phase 2, and the purple is phase 3. We're making progress on phase 3, and primarily what's being installed is a segmental construction, and this shows the segmental construction, how the segments are supported by the shoring towers. The shoring towers are installed, and then the segments are installed with cranes, and then they're post-tension, so that the post-tensioning strands is what supports the segments. Contractor was working on 8 settings. As of last week, the contractor has to erect 2,316 segments, and as of last week, it was only 239. That was the first part of last week. We got a new report last night when indicates there's only about 190 segments left to be installed. This is a view looking west, looking toward Tuscaloosa, and shows the 4 of the headings. You can see the small amount of work that's still left to be done at this location around 19th Street. It also shows how the contractor is installing the closure pours from the top view for each bridge. You can also see that there takes 2 segments for each direction. This is the eastbound or northbound. This is the southbound or westbound. You see 2 segments, and you can see where the 3rd segment comes in. This is the ramp that's coming from 31st Street and the ramp that comes from Red Mountain Expressway. This is a view looking east toward the airport. It picks up at the same location where we were previously, still showing the ramps, showing the main lines, and also shows the ramp that comes from Red Mountain Expressway and 31st Street. And also, these are 2 segments for the eastbound or northbound, and this will be the 3rd segment that picks up the ramp that goes to Red Mountain Expressway. This is a view still looking at the segments, looking back west again toward Tuscaloosa. This shows the ending of the segmental construction, how it would tie to the main line 5920. This is where we actually started the demolition of the 5920 at this location. This will be the westbound or southbound, and this is the eastbound, and how it'll tie. Also, you can see the 25th Street off-ramp and on-ramps. This is the ramp that comes from 31st Street that will tie to the mainline bridges. The 2 ramps come together. The ramp for Red Mountain Expressway and 31st Street will merge together and tie to the main line. This is the ramp that goes to 31st Street on the off ramp if you're traveling northbound or eastbound. This will be the ramp that goes to 31st Street, and we're still working on the ramp that will go to Red Mountain Expressway. This is a cross-sectional view that shows the closure pours in the 2 segments, east and westbound or north and southbound. and the closure pours that will take place to connect those segments. This is another view of the closure pours close up for the northbound and southbound segments. This is a view underneath the bridge, and it shows even with all the construction activity underneath, you can see that how open the bridge will be once we finish. You can see the showing towers and how they're installed and how the segments, each segment is placed on the shoring tower and the jacks put in the permanent location with those jacks, and then they're post tension. This is one of the closure pours underneath the bridge. You can see they're forming for that closure pour, and they'll be pouring that soon. This is another view of the on top of the bridges. This is the barrier rail that's being installed. This is the steel that the contractors install. Then they'll come in and they will come in and actually slip form the barrier rail once they finish with all the construction. This is a top view of the closure pour between the bridges. This kind of gives you an idea of how the bridge will look in relation to the Sheraton Hotel. And looking in the opposite direction, it gives you a view of how the ramps and the main line, how it ties near to the up-down location. This is the parking deck at the Sheraton. This is the mainline bridges going northbound or eastbound, and this is the southbound or westbound bridges. This is the same location where the ramps will tie in from Red Mountain Expressway. Also, the contract has begun painting the bridge, and this is giving you an idea of what the bridge is going to look like underneath the bridge once it's painted. This special coating has been done to facilitate the lighting, to help illuminate the lighting once it is installed. This should bring a very nice view underneath the bridge and also help with the lighting as it is installed. Now let's look at Red Mountain Expressway. We're looking south into Red Mountain Expressway, and you can see the ramps. This is the ramp that will come from Red Mountain Expressway north to the mainline bridges. 31st Street, how it ties. This is the 25th Street on and off ramp. You can see underneath here the mainline bridge is being constructed at that location. Also, you can see overall view of the off ramp if you're traveling toward the airport to get off on 31st Street. And also you can see the ramps coming from Red Mountain Expressway going northbound that goes under. That was a real critical point in our design to make sure we separate these two ramps because of the conflicts. We will have 2 lanes going northbound, and we will have 2 lanes going southbound for Red Mountain Expressway once the construction is complete. This is another view of Red Mountain Expressway. This is your mainline bridges, and you can see how the ramp coming from the main line, if you're traveling eastbound or northbound, how it would tie to the Red Mountain Expressway. This is one of the bridges that will have to be complete. There's both a conventional bridge and there are some segments that need to be completed in order to make this tie at this location. This is another view of Red Mountain Expressway. This is your off and on ramp for 25th Street, 31st Street ramp that ties to the main line. This is a good view of the dual lanes or 2 lanes of the ramp from Red Mountain Expressway to the main line bridges going towards Tuscaloosa. And this is another view of the close-up view of the ramp if you're traveling northbound or toward the airport and you exit and go to 31st Street. And this is another close-up view of the ramp coming from 31st Street, and you can also see a close-up of the mainline bridges and how they're coming together in this location around Caraway. Also, you can see the ramp that comes from, that will go to 31st Street. That's the steel that you saw from the previous area view that shows the ramp. So all this is where the main work is having to be completed in order to finalize the conventional bridges. We're still having some current traffic impacts. Primarily the roads that are closed are 19th Street and 22nd Street currently. Keep in mind, though, I mentioned earlier that the contractor is painting the bridges, and when he does paint across one of these streets, he's having to close the streets in order to facilitate the painting operation. And we will keep you informed of all that information as it occurs. Once we finish with the mainline bridges, or CBD bridges, we want to do something special underneath the bridge. It's called City Walk Birmingham, where Birmingham connects. We're in the process of having a public meeting tomorrow that will be held at the Boutwell Auditorium. That will be 2 sessions. These sessions will be basically a come and go. You have an opportunity to come and view what is the final conceptual drawings of what we anticipate, what we see as the final view of what will be taking place in each block. So come to the Boutwell Auditorium between 11 and 2 o'clock or between 4 and 7 o'clock. And you have an opportunity to walk through and view the drawings and ask questions and make any comments also if you have any. With that, we want to emphasize the fact that we want you to drive safely. We want you to be mindful of the workers who are out there performing the operations. We also want you to be mindful that don't drive impaired or while texting. Don't be distracted while you're driving. Be mindful of everything that's going on. Be obedient to the signs that are installed. With that, I'll turn it back over to Cal.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Leonard. As a reminder, don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and online at the 5920 Bridge website. At this time, we're going to begin taking questions. If you have a question, please type it in the questions box at the lower right-hand side of the screen. We'll give a couple of seconds for people to ask a question if you have one. Okay, it doesn't look like we have any questions, so I'm going to pass it back to Mr. Leonard. Mr. Leonard, is there anything else you want to add before we conclude today's call?
As always, we want to thank the traveling public or the motorists for being so patient. We're getting very close to being able to open this back up to traffic. Our goal is to have traffic back on the mainline bridges before March 21st, 2020. As always, the contractor wants to beat that date, and we're working with him, and we're making sure that he's doing his work according to specs and plans to ensure that the motorists will have a excellent facility to drive on. And again, thank you for participating in our media brief.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Leonard. As a reminder, we will post a recording of this presentation on the 5920 website at 5920bridge.com. The website contains all the most current information on the project, and we encourage you to utilize the website as a resource for closure announcements, the media gallery for photos, and all current content. If you have any questions following today's briefing, please contact Linda Crockett. If nothing else at this time, this will conclude today's meeting. Thanks again to everyone for joining.